Just a brief video to demonstrate building some extremely simple kits. So simple, in fact, that the only tools you need are a pair of sprue cutters, a pair of sharp scissors, and a pair of tweezers. Now, the kits are made by a Japanese company named Bandai, and they are the B-Train Shorty range. These little caricatures of Japanese trains in N scale. This kit produces the two end coaches, one of which is a generator van for a sleeping car train. So, without further ado, let's see what's in the box. That's actually one of the hardest bits of building these things, because they are incredibly simple. All the parts are pre-printed. The only fiddly part, putting the running numbers on. So, let's get building. These magnetic couplings are for use if you're building them as a static model. We don't need them, because of what I'm going to show you next. Now, the instructions, as you might expect, are in Japanese, but the good news is that they are based on diagrams, so you really don't need to speak Japanese. The other part you're going to need if you want to make these run on engaged track is the box of trailer chassis. They come as a box of 3. I've already used one on one of the previous models that I've built from this range. I'll leave those in there because otherwise they'll roll away. So we'll start with this one. First job, get the packaging open. You're seeing where the scissors come in now. Well, part of where the scissors come in. The other purpose is to cut the stickers out for the numbers at the end. Standard printing is very good indeed, considering that these cost, I think this pack of 2 was around the £11 mark. The standard printing could shame many models costing a lot more. Now the rest of the coach. We'll come to the luggage van later, or the generator van even. That one will be a little bit more complicated. Now, all of these kits come with the parts to build a dummy chassis. So it's a static model. We're not going to be using those because we've got the proper chassis with the metal wheels. Therefore, the one alteration we need to make, the instructions show these parts used as spaces between the sides, these things. We don't need them because we don't need the coupling mount, because there are couplings on the chassis we're using. So we use these instead. Other than that, we build according to the instruction sheet. And, as I'm about to demonstrate, the longest part of the whole process is cutting all the components off the sprues. Some of these kits can be more complicated than others. This one's quite simple because there are no, well, on this coach, there are no alternate parts. Despite being a fairly cheap caricature, Bandai go to fairly surprising lengths for realism. Side frames to clip onto the chassis. These chassis parts fit pretty much everything they make, by the way. Just throw that in the bin, or the recycling box rather. Windows. Again, everything just clips together. I shall demonstrate how quickly these go together once I've finished clipping all the components from the sprues. As I was saying, the dummy chassis fit pretty much every bogie vehicle they make, apart from freight stock like the tankers and container wagons. These could go under a multiple unit, they could go under coaches, they could even go under the trailer cars of a bullet train. Shinkansen. So, one side. The other side. Now the slightly fiddly part. You fit these like... It's one of these things where... There we go. If it doesn't want to go in, don't force it, because you will break something, and as you might expect, spare parts are almost non-existent outside Japan. There you go. Fitting the roof is a little more fiddly usually. Everything snaps together very solidly. If there are gaps, it usually means you need to go back and just gently press things together a bit. That'll usually solve the problem. So we'll put the outer end of the carriage on. And the inner end. See, there's a gap there which should not be, and that will be because I have pressed the end on too far. So a little gentle repositioning. Make sure it's actually square on. There we go. Body built. Side frames simply clip onto the chassis. Again, a case of if it doesn't want to go, do not try to force. Push gently. There we go. On some of these models, these are handed. These don't seem to be. If you look, they are all identical. There we go. Now I'll go on to adding the stickers, which should not take long. So, for those who don't speak Japanese, here's your solution. All you do is giving you the number 25 to there, here, and also suggesting that you fit the square end segment. Yes, one of these, because these will be the Hokutosei or something like that. It's a Japanese sleeper service. I mostly bought it because I wanted a sleeper train, and this seemed to be the best way of getting the best way of getting a decent length set. The other two parts were, there was a pack of 3 coaches and a locomotive, 3 sleeping cars and a locomotive, and then another pack of 2 sleeping cars, a restaurant car, and a different locomotive. If you combine both of those packs and this pack, you end up with an 8-coach train and 2 engines. The only thing you need to be a bit careful of with these is that the locomotives are not that powerful. They only have 4 wheels. You do have them drastically shortened. Well, that should not have come off there, you may have guessed. Because now we need to finish the job of cutting this out. So, snip. Leave that there. Snip. Get rid of that. There we go, I think. So this is where the tweezers come in. So I'm going to need those. There we go. I shall fit these and then go back and do the square part, because otherwise I'll lose them. Now the backing sheet, or more accurately fronting sheet, stays on. It doesn't come off. So try to get the positioning about right by the instruction book. There. The other side. If you do make a mess with the stickers, do not worry, because they include extra stickers with different numbers, so you can renumber your coach very easily If you cut out another pair from the same area on the sheet as the ones that it's telling you to use, then they're probably going to be about right. Make sure straight. There we go. Now the little square one on the end, or the rectangular one on the end rather. There we go. The instructions do suggest using a sharp knife to cut these out. Well, I've tried that, and I'm afraid all that seemed to happen was the backing paper got rucked up and the edges look ragged, and yeah, I get a much neater job with scissors than I do with a knife on these. So I'll just make sure I've got this the right way up. These circular ones are the destination boards for the name boards rather for the locomotive. So yes, that's the same way up. The good news is, until you actually press them down, you can lift them slightly. And this is going to be a sharp knife job, I think, to lift that one a little bit. Come on. A real knife rather than using a pair of scissors. This is about the only fiddly part of the whole process, trying to get these square things on neatly. I think, amazingly, there we go. So, one carriage built.